Excuse me for whilst I wait for another Esper to spawn. It's going to be this green for a while. But I've got a topic to talk about. And I've already failed to make the video twice, and I realised I haven't done this type of video on it yet. So, to brief the things that have happened since my last AI video. It's not AI video, it's anti-AI. A lot has changed. The generative AI is getting far more realistic and able to mimic pretty much anything now, which is again scary. I warned about this all the way back in when DALL-E was a thing 1.0. People were messing around with that, getting abominations, and then suddenly it improved, and then suddenly we saw an uprise in AI generated garbage, and it's only gotten worse since. And yeah, I'm extremely frustrated about it, as you could probably expect, because I am an artist and a musician at the same time. Well, both at once, so if only. You know what, that might be possible one day. Might try that. That's a fun thing to do. But yeah, it's evolved more and more gradually. And like in terms of technology wise, I think it's evolved way too quick because technology is still relatively new. Given that the first computer was like made in like what 1960, like the first possible computer. I say possible because there are obviously devices, they've existed and are computers themselves in some way, but they're not exactly like the computers we know now, that sort of thing. And yeah, and it's only been like 60 years plus, like, it's been a while, but it's also way too short for what it is. And same with like motors and stuff, like cars, planes, anything. Like, there's some things that have been around for longer, but the point is, it's quite concerning when the evolution of things are going so quick that people can't catch up. And not only that, it seems to be a case of people just struggling to grasp it as well. You need to firmly grasp it. And because people struggle with that, they're not entirely accepting of it. But then there's people who are just completely ignorant of technology and, as a result, consume AI garbage. And I've actually seen this firsthand like multiple times in my daily life at the moment. And because it's so accessible to people, it's just simply downloading an app, making a prompt or giving it an image, and then adjusting it. It gets out of hand, and you have to excuse me because I have breathing problems at the moment. It's gotten really bad, I don't know why. Maybe it's the stress. That's probably it. Usually is anyway. It's fine though. Yeah, like people are using it for everyday use. It's not just like generative AI. It's also the the fucking entire like Chat GPT thing, and people supposedly beginning to worship and accept it as like a person, which is very concerning, as you might expect. And yeah, it's like massively disappointing. But we've reached today, or like the past few months anyway, and even though people are using it maliciously, there are people using it to essentially profit and gain attention. And this is from things like AI generated metal bands, which I saw a reaction to before, like a few days ago, and even now there's AI generated animal videos. And it just feels very dystopian. Like, it's fucking crazy. And it just, it very much concerns me. And yeah, and the fact people aren't necessarily catching onto it is just concerning as well. People live in ignorance, and that's part of the problem, to be honest. And I've said before, this is something you need to protest. This is something you need to educate people on, regardless of what sort of person you are. what your hobby is or your job, you have the chance to educate people on it. And even though it's more directly affecting a field like mine, well, I'm not working, I'm just making hobbies and having fun doing them. I had an obligation to speak on it, and so I did. And other people have to an extent. But people obviously becoming too complacent with it, and I've noticed this with people who claim to be anti-AI but then use AI generated stuff anyway, which is one of the most bizarre things. I've seen Twitch streamers do this actually. At one moment they're anti-AI, but then the next they're like, oh, here's a AI generated voice of Hulk Hogan. Great. That's what we're exactly protesting. And you're all protesting supposedly, so I don't know why you're using that. It doesn't matter if it's a person you like or dislike, it's still wrong. Even with consent, I still consider it wrong. Just on the moral basis that it seeks to strip people of not only creativity and humanity, it's also just completely lazy and dystopian. This is why people used to do impressions back in the day. I used to do some myself. Apparently I mimicked, actually I can't remember what it was. I definitely did a voice for something. Yeah, so AI generation is getting too far now. So it leads to the topic at hand, which is my advice for avoiding AI. And just a forewarning, this isn't necessarily going to be how to avoid it online, because there are different methods on how to. There's like scripts you can run, and like I think Ublock Origin has a thing to avoid certain AI stuff. AI generated, although it can block the wrong things sometimes. And also like blacklisting websites that have AI associated with it. There are different ways, and it's really somewhere you should do your own research, especially if you're passionate about it. And yeah, and like a general piece of advice is that rather than looking for the flaws, just look for the person who made it, essentially. Like, it's as simple as that. Look for things that are made by a person. You can actually tell and look for something simple too, because AI generated shit is just going to be complicated stuff, and eventually it'll get so detailed you can't place your eyes anywhere, and that's what makes a good image. But at the same time, it's going to be what determines whether something is AI in the future anyway, as it is with obviously the real life mimicking stuff. So it's important to keep that in mind. So yeah, like I think I described that pretty accurately. Could be mistaken. But then there's the other ways to avoid it, and this essentially goes for any technology anyway. Is to avoid technology altogether. Sounds dumb, but that is legit one of the only ways you can possibly cope with AI existing. If you can't trust videos online, if you can't trust text, anything online anymore, then the only thing you've got to turn to is the world around you, the people. Go to a local restaurant and eat, for example, and that can give you a sense of community and humanity. Because I think in an AI world, which I don't know if it will or will not happen, because I think the people who said it will are obviously morally bankrupt, because you don't know that for certain, and you had the chance to stop it, and instead you said, no, I'm just going to sit here and wait. Which is extremely dystopian and selfish, but yeah. Getting an idea of the humanity and stuff that is around you is important. And ironically, a lot of issues, I think, of like current human rights and even animal rights issues probably can be solved if you just talk to people in person. One of the things with technology, being online, and having grown up around it myself, you disconnect easily from people, and that's why you're able to do things like this, and that's why I could call you a fucking cunt. But that's besides the point. It literally is easier to do that than in real life, because I would never be able to do that. And part of it is autism. I'm not socially inept. I say I'm socially inept, that's probably what I mean. Um, yeah. But even then, you could still find things in life that are more interesting than technology. Like, when I was living with my dad, growing up, we had like Simpsons DVDs and VHS videos and stuff like Trapdoor, um, drama. We had it's like different shows. I think Father Ted as well. That was fucking amazing. Other than that one guy who's a complete transphobe, but it was good. But we also had things like board games and arcade machines. One arcade machine, not many. There's like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles machine, arcade machine. It's quite interesting. It's like a side scroller sort of fighting game. I only played it a bit. But we also had things like Legos, and we also had like Hot Wheels and Transformers figurines. There's a lot of different things that you can do back then that even now it could still be relevant, still be a thing literally. And don't forget you've got things like Dungeons and Dragons and like God knows what. You can even make up your own games. Like it's not impossible. If you're looking for creativity and inspiration and stuff, the world is literally your oyster. Was it shellfish or octopussy? It's one of those. Uh, but yeah, uh, literally one of the talents I developed growing up actually was comedy. No, whenever I wasn't able to play games, I tried to find ways to occupy my time. And I'd be bored out of my mind when I was sitting around, so I'd often take my mind places, like focus on the conversation for a bit and then sort of daydream about something and then repeat. That's how I never got bored, even with very obvious ADHD. And I can still do that now without even pulling out my phone. So there's also a bit of training in that sense, like mentally. But the other tip I can give is again searching for like physical stuff you can do, like hobbies is important. But if you're like missing out on gaming and media, for example, go to a charity shop. Or in the UK we have like tipping yards, junkyards. I can't remember what they're called, but you can probably salvage something from there as well. Believe it or not, people chuck away all sorts of things. I remember a local one when I went up to a trip up there. I wasn't going for myself; it was with someone else. Um, like he found multiple DVDs, and it's like, holy crap! And this will cost him like £5 for like 20 DVDs of things that nobody had heard of. And these could be like bad movies for sure, bad TV shows, but there's still something. You also get music that way. And there's a reason why I never relied on like cloud technology for things nowadays. It's because it's like it's all stored there, and if it goes wrong, you lose it forever, basically. And you always have to keep that in mind when doing anything technology related. If it's not a one-time purchase, and if you can lose it at the snap of your fingers or whoever's fingers, then it's probably not worth having. Simple as that. Just dangerous. There's no like physical form of it, so it's like, what's the point? So yeah, one of the things I do advise as well. I can't remember if I said is go into like charity shops if you have them available near you, because there could be some really gold stuff there. I've definitely seen like guitars in there before. Seen things like clothes and board games, and even like figurines. And there's even like cheap shops every now and then that pop up. I remember in one of them there's like tons of like USB chargers and stuff, but the point of going out in the world, even if you're socially anxious like me, you can find gold, like literally, and you won't regret it, honestly, because there's just so much out there, so much just lost to time as well. Yeah, one of my favourite games as a kid, other than Monopoly and probably Uno for that matter, is probably a weird niche board game called Hotel. I like the sort of construction and 3D element of that. What made it so interesting is it's Monopoly but with a twist, essentially. I think, if I remember it correctly. It was like one of the few board games we had that was semi decent and quite physically involved in a sense. Um, it was a very odd game though. I do sort of miss those times in a way. And yeah, and for like a younger person hearing this, like, trust me, try it. I think the more open-minded you are, the less misses you're going to have. Because things are hit and miss as an objective truth about life. But at the end of the day, you're going to miss the things that you don't try. And that's one of the things I've always tried to follow as a general piece of advice. Yeah, there's things I do miss out on just naturally, but the things that I get the opportunity to try, it's like, okay, I'm gonna try it. I tried hot foods recently, and I never used to be. I never used to like them. I always found it too much, and then I started having like hot sauce, and I realised, holy crap, this is tasty. And I moved up to warmer things like hot curries, and at the moment, my maker at the moment introduced my father Patak's chili pickle. Yeah, that's pretty much stumped me. It's one of the hottest things I've ever had. I can't have it alone, so I have to have it with something. Yeah, again, there's plenty of creative things you could do. You can also get like cookbooks and learn shit, like learn how to cook, find recipes you like, and obviously like bookmark them as well. There's so many physical forms of media. If you look at like Stranger Things, for example, I think like I remember that show being so good because it emphasised like the 80s in such a drastic way, from the music to the entire setting. And, you know, like living through the 80s as it was essentially. There's like no phones and no technology. There was phones, but not mobile phones that are as prevalent as they are now. Um, yeah, it's so surprising. Again, sort of like reverting is beneficial in some ways. Yeah, return to monkey in other ways, like that sort of thing. Um, yeah, that's just my advice. So yeah, thanks for listening. Hopefully, it helped you. And see everyone another time. I'll see leave your advice if you have any.